run this mother. Yeah. Girls, we run this mother. Yeah. Girls, we run this mother. Yeah. Girls, we run this mother. Yeah. Who run the world? Girls. Who run the world? Girls. Who run the world? Girls.
Hello and welcome to another episode of She Worked Hard, Real Women, Real Life, a platform to tell our stories. I'm your host, Lauren Maley, and today we are welcoming my beautiful, resilient Aunt Jennifer to hear her story. So with that, welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for coming to do this interview with me today. Your story obviously is a super inspirational one, so I'm excited to share that. Can you talk to us about how and where your journey began?
So my journey began in Pueblo.
Yes.
I was born and raised in Pueblo.
Yes.
My dad was a sheriff and my mom was a deputy sheriff at the time.
I didn't know that's how we met. How do I not know that?
Yes. So my journey started there, named after a Gerber baby.
You looked like the Gerber baby.
I did. That's probably still do. So I had, my upbringing was not easy.
Yes.
My dad left when I was about 9.
Yes.
And my mom unfortunately became an addict after she became engaged to a doctor. So the journey was long.
Yes.
It was very rough.
Stressful.
Stressful.
Yeah.
Not knowing when the rug was going to be pulled out from under you.
Absolutely. So hard.
Spent a year in a foster home when I was in 4th grade.
That's right.
My mom and I mended our relationship probably after I had my daughter at 19.
So young.
It was very young. I wouldn't change it though.
Yeah, because you now have an amazing granddaughter.
I have an amazing
And you're still
granddaughter.
young.
And I'm still young
Yes.
and I can enjoy it.
Yes, absolutely.
It's been a huge blessing for as many people and things that I feel that I've lost. I've gained so much.
Oh, I love that perspective. I mean, that's the way you have to look at life, right? It's so unexpected, but the good things outshine
Absolutely.
the bad in time.
It takes time.
It really does. So after you had your daughter, where did your work journey take you during that time?
So it started I worked nights at a nursing home.
Okay.
When my daughter was about a month old.
Oh my gosh, that sounds hard.
It was ridiculous. We paid $190 in rent. I'll never forget.
$190 was the cost of rent?
Of rent, yes.
How?
That was unheard of.
I know we're all wishing that's how much our rent was today.
We'd all be very wealthy.
Yes, we would.
I worked nights. I did the dinner hours, refilled, water throughout the rooms.
Okay.
Learned a lot talking. I think getting older, you learn to respect people that have been through a lot, and you take time to listen.
Yes.
And learn their lessons in life can also be stuff that you learn as well.
Absolutely. How long were you at that
I
position?
was there about a year and a half.
Okay.
I also worked with my friend Jane, so we both had small babies.
And we're working, grinding out.
Working, grinding, and still trying to be young at the same time. Still trying
Going
to
out.
enjoy our youth.
Yes. That's the way to do it, right? I'm sorry. Go ahead. After that?
I was just going to say my husband at the time was a wonderful person.
Yes.
And we had a wonderful 23 years together.
Wow. Such a long time.
And,
such a long time.
As time went on and our daughter grew up, it became hard.
Yes.
I believe more difficult for him that he could not see the little girl that he saw.
Totally.
And I think it turned him into a different person that chose a different life.
Yeah, absolutely. Time changes people, and long-term marriages face unbelievable challenges that you would never think were coming down the road that change people. So what happened during that time?
So during that time, our daughter went to college.
Yes.
It was to be an exciting time.
Yes. Yes.
Because we were finally young enough to
Yes.
be
To be free.
free. She was taken care of.
Yes.
We brought her up here to Denver,
Yes.
and she stayed at the Regency. Lewis and I continued our journey in Pueblo.
That's right.
And unfortunately, at about 37, I decided I could not take the substance abuse,
Yes.
and I decided to leave.
So strong. Such a powerful decision.
It was one of the hardest and one of the saddest, and
Yes.
one that I question at times.
Yeah.
But I had 5 years apart from him, but still contact on a daily basis.
Yes, because you had been connected. You basically grew up together.
We did.
Yeah,
We did.
You started as these young kids and you had a family together, and then you grew up into, adults, and you change. But you still are connected.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And always will be.
And always will be.
Especially when you have kids
Yes.
with someone, you always have that connection.
Absolutely.
So I had decided to move out,
Yes.
and he stayed at the home that Lacey grew up in.
Yes.
And we tried to be friends. It was
That's hard.
Very difficult.
Yes, very difficult.
There was a very fine line with just being there for each other in a way of just helping out,
Yes.
helping with the house. Unfortunately, his substance turned to anger, and anger turned to destruction,
Yes.
and he actually committed suicide in the home that she grew up in.
Yes.
So it was very difficult because suicide is something that it's never a death that is
Expected.
at peace
Yeah.
or expected.
Yes, I remember the time was very difficult, and I so appreciate you coming and being so brave to talk about it, because I feel like it's a subject that doesn't have enough attention surrounding it, and we
agree.
don't talk about it enough.
Right.
And that's part of the reason for the show, is to raise awareness surrounding things like suicide, which our family has been impacted by.
Yes.
And to talk about it and to say, these things are unexpected and they devastate people, but you can ask for help and you can reach out and it can be okay, but you can't suffer in silence.
No.
And nobody knows where you are in your mind
Right.
until it's too late,
Until it's too late.
unfortunately.
It's something that you have to always take caution.
Yes.
His threats would be widespread. I believe that it had just been too much at that point.
Yes.
There are a lot of good resources, though, for families that have survived suicide.
Yes.
And I would always recommend that people do go, because
Absolutely.
it's hard. It is somewhat of a catch-22. It's hard to see what other people have gone through,
Yes.
and it kind of reopens the wounds. But I think people should definitely be aware, since younger generations are at risk even more today than they've ever been.
Yes, absolutely. And for you to come out and talk about this and share your story, I mean, the amount of bravery it takes is a lot, but it will help other people, young people, older
my
people who are suffering. When you're a spouse and you've lost your spouse to suicide, it's absolutely devastating. But to be able to turn it into something that can help other people is really powerful. So thank
Absolutely.
you for sharing that with us. I
welcome.
love you and respect you, more than anything. And
Thank you so much.
your resilience is something to be admired. And is there anything else that we feel like we should talk about regarding this subject? Because I know it's so important and it's so heavy, after the fact. Was there anything that you did or that you would recommend doing for others in this situation?
I think the main thing I did is kept that connection open with all the people that came,
Yes.
all the people that continued to reach out.
The support.
The support system that I had, I especially feared for my daughter for
Yes.
many, many years.
Yes, many
for
years.
my family.
Yes.
It is a ripple effect.
Yes.
It affects friends. It affects people you never realized
That they were close with.
that they were close with.
Yeah.
So I definitely kept that line of communication open as much as I needed it.
Yes.
There was a lot of times that I just kind of needed to step back and
Be alone.
be strong on my own.
Yes, absolutely. And finding that inner strength is not easy.
No.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
And does it get better with time?
I don't know that. I think you find a place for it.
You find a place
I
for
never
it.
say that. I never have agreed with the statement that time heals.
Yes.
But I believe that you find a place
Inside of
you to keep the good memories.
I love that.
Instead
I love
of focusing on how it ended, you focus on the time in between.
that. I love that because honestly, that's all you can do.
That's true.
That's all you can do, right? Like you lose this person and you love them so deeply, and
Yes.
they'll never know how much they were cared for
I believe yes.
until they're gone, because they, in this situation, I'm not saying this happens in every situation, but in this situation, the mental health component was real, and he wasn't the person that he was in the beginning.
No.
In the end. And
was
so that was really hard, and it was really something that should be acknowledged, because if we had more resources, I think maybe he could have gotten the help that he needed if he ever asked, and so that's
agree.
something that is important for the future.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And I think it brings out more of the substance abuse.
Yes.
It's such a fine line to realize when it's gone a step too far.
Yes.
And I might be a little more hardened on that because I grew up with it. And I'm certainly harder on friends that I have now that I'm aware of
Yeah.
that are just having a little too much fun.
Yeah, but that's okay.
I feel like I come across as this, grizzly mama bear just trying to say, hey,
Yeah,
it
let's keep an eye.
Let's have fun, but
Yeah.
it can cross over very easily.
Yeah, but we need people like you in our life. The people that are
In
the
the background.
stopgaps. Yeah, that say, hey, maybe you shouldn't be drinking 19 beers. That's not a good decision. Maybe we could back it down to 2. I don't know. Let's talk about it, right?
Yes,
We need
yes.
people like you in our life to be the mama bears, to look out for the rest of us.
Makes me feel better.
Yes, it's true. It's true. So thank you for talking about that. As I said, I think it's super, super important. I think that we were talking about work-related stuff. Do you want to go back to something lighter? Maybe
Oh, absolutely.
Talk about your worst job
Oh,
you've ever had?
So I've had some, the worst job I ever had was working at Sears
Oh, no.
in the women's
Retail?
department. Yes. And I worked with this wonderful woman named Betty.
Yes.
And she,
Betty.
at one time, was a Playboy bunny
Yes.
in Chicago.
Stop it. I love
So
this
she
woman.
was absolutely stunning
I
in
bet.
her probably 70s.
Oh, I bet.
But I had never, I'm not a huge clothes person.
Yes.
So to have somebody constantly saying, how do I look? How does this look on me? How I avoided that at all costs.
You're like, great.
I just did not want to participate in that because they might not like what I say. I did only work there for about a year. And then I moved on I worked for a Polish family at a hotel in Pueblo
Okay.
for almost 5 years.
How did you get that job?
That was the job I had just went in to interview for.
Okay.
And
And they were like, you're hired.
sure enough, it went the way it was supposed to.
Yes.
My best friend and I, Lisa, actually ended up working there together for about 2 years.
Awesome.
It was some of the funnest, craziest times we've had. I also
only
was a bartender in the bar for the
Okay.
hotel.
Okay. Lots of interesting characters. I'm sure.
Absolutely. I had one woman that tipped me $100 for just listening to her story.
Wow.
It was about a 4-hour story,
Wow.
but I just listened.
What story was this?
It was everything from the time she got here till the time she thought she was going to possibly head out. So it was a long story
Long
about
story.
her life and her family, but I had to appreciate it.
Yes, because you got $100.
I got $100
You're like,
on
heck
top
yeah,
of listening
I'll take
and
it.
learning. My boss was Polish, and I have realized that they are some of the hardest workers.
Yes.
They
so true.
definitely, I believe, thought we were spoiled the way we lived.
Yes.
And
Even though you weren't.
even though we weren't. And I'll never forget, when I first started, probably the first week, the woman that trained me, her name was Rika, and everybody was terrified of her. And I was at the counter with her, and this time it was the car show that they have in Pueblo every year, and it brings in thousands of people.
Okay.
So they're rowdy. They are, to begin with, it's rowdy situation.
Oh no.
So I'm just starting. I'm new. It's so busy. Everybody's coming at me. I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes.
And I'm trying to impress
Rika.
at the same time because I knew that was the key.
Got it.
So
Smart girl.
all of a sudden, Jack was my boss's name, and he came up to the counter and he slammed his fist down. He was not much older than I was. Okay. And he said, if you don't get somebody up to that room to get that cat out of the hotel room and clean up the cat box while you're at it.
Oh no.
And I just stood there in horror, and I looked at Rika, and she's like, oh, him. So I just was frozen. That was one incident with him. A second incident was he actually got in a fist fight in the lobby with a basketball player that was talking back to him.
What is with these guys?
He was so aggressive, but when he'd get mad at you in Polish, you just sat there and went, I kind of like your accent. Like, it's not as mean as if you were American
But
telling
I
me
have
off.
no idea what you're saying.
I have no idea what you just said to me.
Yeah.
That sounded beautiful.
It
But
sounded beautiful.
It sounded nice. You might have complimented me. So I had some wonderful times with the people there. I met some wonderful people from Poland.
Cool. Why'd you leave that job?
We actually, so Lisa and I were in a competition to go to the Broadmoor Terrace in Colorado Springs. He had purchased 2 other properties in the Springs because he was done with the hotel business.
Okay.
So he wanted me to stay back at the hotel with him until he sold it. And he sent Lisa to Broadmoor Terrace. That was a hard thing
That
in
is
the beginning.
hard. When you lose your friends at work, it just sucks.
It's hard.
Yeah.
So her and I went through a little bit of an issue. He finally talked to me, and he said, the other property I bought is you would not last one day, and we'd find you in the trash can because it was in a really bad neighborhood.
Scary.
So he was looking out for me in the long run, but at the time I was just like,
You're like, you took my friend.
Yeah, I was like, you took my friend, and you left me here in this.
This sucks.
So yes, it was kind of bittersweet. I did still get to see him after.
Nice.
She continued to work for him, but
Okay.
he's doing well. He was actually a great boss.
Okay, good. It's nice to talk about the great bosses too, because we've all had horrible bosses and we've all had great bosses.
True.
And your boss make or breaks your job.
It's so true.
Yeah, it's like if you love your boss, you'll work through
You'll
kind
work
of really
hard.
hard things and
You'll
hard
go
work.
through
Yeah, but
anything.
if you don't, then you kind of got to leave.
Yeah.
It's just unbearable.
I think I knew when the time was up with that in particular because I just felt like I had just
Did your
been done.
Yeah, you had been done for a while, and you were
Yes.
just like, this is over.
Yeah, the fun part was over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you move on to your real estate career after
I did.
that? Okay.
I actually just that was another random
Thing that popped up?
Thing that popped up.
You have good luck.
In the newspaper of all things, as old as that sounds.
It
was
does
an
sound
ad
old.
in the newspaper.
Stop. It was a newspaper
It was
ad.
a newspaper. So it was for a receptionist at Remax in Pueblo West.
Yes.
I walked in and filled out what they call an application
Yes.
in person.
Yes.
I went to walk out the door, and my boss, Garth, actually came out and he said, I want to talk to you.
Oh,
So-
he like followed you out.
Followed me.
He's like a beautiful blonde woman. Come back.
So I had to go through 3 interviews, and one of them was with the office manager, Janet.
Yes.
And at first, she
Yes.
was just like, I could tell she was like, what do you know? What are you doing here? What's your goal? So as time went on, I earned her respect.
Of course you did. You're such a hard worker.
I ended up staying there for 15 years.
That's such a long time.
It was so hard to go.
Yes. Because you had built a life there.
I had built a life
Yes.
there.
15 years is a long time.
That was a point in my life where that was a year after Lewis's.
Yeah, had
death.
passed away. Yes.
I thought I could continue in Pueblo,
Yes.
and I decided at that point I could no longer.
Yes.
Because I felt like every time I went somewhere, it was the hush-hush of what had happened.
Yes.
And I felt sometimes that I took a lot of blame for it because I
Yes.
left.
Yeah. And
But I never actually left. I was still there.
Yes.
Just as people pass, a lot of people all of a sudden decide that they were there the whole time.
Oh, 100%.
So you
This is
always
something
get
that is
those.
very common. Yes, it's really
Very common.
strange. It must be a coping mechanism, is my guess.
I
But
believe that it is.
yeah, because that happens with
Yes.
death. People all of a sudden are like, well, I was there the whole time. And you're like, but I've
But
never
you-
seen
I
you
never
before.
saw you. If you were there, I never saw
Who
you.
are you?
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So
I understand moving. It's a fresh start, and I think that's probably really natural for most people, is you need like a new beginning, you know, when
Yes.
something's been so hard and so painful, you have to give yourself a chance at a new life,
Yes,
right? That's
absolutely.
really, really normal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I want to go back just a little bit because before Lewis passed,
Yeah.
I had not been feeling well.
Yes.
And this had been going on for maybe about 4 years.
Yes.
I knew something. I just didn't know what. I'd been to the doctor. They're like, you're fine. The test say you're fine. The blood says you're fine.
Yes.
So after, and I don't know if it was a stressful situation. I feel like probably since the day I was born, there was some type of stress.
Yes.
In my
You
life.
have had a
Literally the day I
massive-
got here.
Yes, there has been a massive amount of stress. Can we just acknowledge the massive amount of stress that has
Massive
been
amount.
placed inside of your life? Yes, I couldn't agree
Thank you.
more. Yes, 100%. I hope that goes away.
In between him, before we moved,
Yes.
and in between him passing, we did find out that I had a pituitary tumor,
Yes.
which is a very rare form of what they call Cushing's disease.
Yes.
It's an endocrine disorder. Most people have no idea what it was. I had no idea until I learned about it. It's like until you get it, you
Yes.
have no knowledge of it.
Yes.
I ended up coming, because I still lived in Pueblo, up to Anschutz
Yes.
and had a meeting with the neurosurgeon. I postponed the surgery for about 6 months till the point they finally said, what are you waiting for?
Yes.
Unfortunately, the symptomatics of it is your pituitary gland is your mothership. It controls your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, your liver,
Yes.
your diabetes possibility of catching it.
It's almost like everything.
It's everything.
Yes.
That's why it is so hard to be found, is because doctors have the tendency to disregard people that say everything is wrong.
Totally. That's really interesting and good to know, because I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a symptom of, didn't your eyes change color?
They did.
Yes, I remember that, and that can be a symptom of a brain tumor.
Of a brain tumor.
And we didn't know that at the time.
No.
And I remember we were like, your eyes have changed from green to blue, and we figured that out later on. So I think
Yes.
it's good for people to know that can be a sign.
Yes. I feel like you have to listen to your own body.
Yes.
And whether they tell you, if you don't feel right and you know something is just not wrong, keep
Yes.
fighting.
Yes.
Mine was found by, actually, I call it the grace of God, where it was
Yes.
actually just a fluke that they happened to see when they did a spine scan. They saw it at the base of the brain. That's where
Yes.
the pituitary gland lies. So thank goodness I had a successful surgery,
Thank goodness.
and I had an awesome recovery for about 5 years.
Yes.
And then I knew enough to know that possibility. There's always a possibility it can come back. It did come back again,
Yes.
and I had surgery recently, 2 years ago. Yep. Hoping it's a success.
Yes.
Praying.
Please.
Praying.
Yes.
I'm actually mid-process right now of checking for reoccurrence.
Yes.
So that's how I spent my day yesterday, with an MRI and a headset. That was fun.
You are a survivor. This is just unbelievable. Thing after thing, you are the most resilient person. I swear. It's unbelievable that you're here. I'm so thankful to God and the universe for not taking my aunt from me selfishly. But from an outside perspective, for people watching this, I think that your story, more than any of them, is just to keep going.
Yes.
And that keep fighting, because even if you're dealt a hand in life that you never expected all of these things to happen, you've never lost your lovely outlook on life. Like, it never took away your light and your shine, and I think that is so admirable. Like, you have had a hard deal, and you have continued to be this thoughtful, loving, wonderful mother, aunt, friend, worker. I'm sure your coworkers all feel the exact same way about you.
There are days that they may not, but
most of the time.
Most of the time, I think. I spoke with a lady the other day. She's a friend. Her name is Amy. She's going through some difficult times. And she looked at me and said, "Have you ever said, 'God, why me?'"
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, "I have said, basically, why not me?
Yeah.
You are given a path for a reason.
Yes.
For however rough it is, for things that you never thought could happen in your life, you're given that path. And you're given the choice of how you take that path."
Absolutely.
And I think for anybody that deals with death or health or their own internal struggles, that there's always light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely.
You can never give up.
Never give up, and somewhere, somehow, you do have the strength within you.
Yes.
Even though you don't think that you
may
do.
not feel it.
You do, and you can find it, and people around you can help too.
Yes.
But ultimately, it is within yourself that you find that strength to overcome.
Because it takes a lot of
It
time.
takes a lot.
And there are days that you battle. You battle yourself
Yes.
with, where are you at with this?
Yes.
Have you dealt with this? And I believe that there's just wonderful things that continue to happen in life to counteract the things that you would have wished probably wouldn't have happened.
Absolutely.
But you have no control over.
And you gain something from each experience, even if it's absolutely horrible and the worst thing that you could ever imagine. Something comes out of it on the other side that changes you hopefully in a positive way. Not everyone in a positive way, but it does change you and add something to your life in one way or another.
Absolutely.
When you think about, your life and you look back or even now today, what are you most proud of? There's a lot there to be very proud of, obviously. But is there one thing that kind of stands out to you?
I think I am proud of myself that I chose the path, and this is always kind of hard to say without offending anyone.
Yes.
Is that even through all the turmoil and the chaos, and I never went the route that was a dependent on something to escape. I've never tried to escape my life.
Yes,
I've had to struggle with it, but I've had to really come head on with it without just trying to pretend like things aren't there.
Yeah, like you never took the victim route.
No.
You always
I don't believe anyone is a victim.
Yes.
I don't.
I agree with you, and you took the role of deciding that you were going to take control of your own destiny. Yes. And a lot of people don't feel that they can do that, but they can. You're the master of your own creation of your life.
Which is hard.
It is
hard to, and I do want to rephrase that. There are victims of different issues.
Yes, of course.
I don't want to say, I say in my case that I was not a victim of his suicide.
Yes.
I was just taught to be strong and be concerned for the loved ones that were still here, that were still suffering as well.
Yes.
And just to make sure that we all remember good times.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what do you do in your free time? I know you have an amazing granddaughter who is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Super sassy.
Yes, she's very
Super sassy.
And I know you spend a lot of time with her.
I do. I spend a lot of time. I feel it's really important to take that time and enjoy while they're small. As we know, time flies.
It does.
From
It does.
you being smaller.
Yes.
And I do enjoy fishing. Everybody laughs at that because I say I will be out there.
I was like, you just threw that out
with
there. I really
my
like to go
lips
fishing.
on. I like to fish. I'm a big time fisher.
I love that. What's the best thing you've ever caught?
Ooh.
Rainbow trout?
I could lie and say it was like this big. But yeah, probably. Yeah, a couple of crawdads.
We don't have anything crazy out here in the waters.
No crazy stories. Almost got a snake this last time. That was fun.
Yay!
I enjoy things like decorating.
Yes.
Right now I live with the house full of boys.
Yes.
Off and on, so that's always
Eventful.
And so my decorating has kind of slowed down a little bit.
I love that.
I'm letting them enjoy my home instead of worrying about everything's nice and neat.
Yes.
Because these times will never come back.
They won't, that's for sure. Well, you have dropped a lot of knowledge on us today, but do you want to leave us with any words of wisdom as your parting, knowledge to give everybody?
Well, I hope that people see this and realize that no matter what happens in your life, good, bad, tragedy,
Yes.
happiness, I believe that you can be strong, but I also believe that you need people to lean on,
Yes.
and you never shy away from someone that's offering their hand.
Yes.
And I believe that when you were born, I believe God chose your path, and I believe that you take that path until the end.
Yes.
And
Agreed.
I believe that you're only given what you can handle. There are times I'm like, my plate is full,
Yes.
enough,
I can't
and
handle
I'm good.
anymore.
Can we just have an appetizer for now and get that done with?
Yes.
Then we'll have a plate.
Absolutely.
Honestly, I have been blessed in my life with my family,
Yes.
my
Absolutely.
daughter, my granddaughter.
Yes.
I am
They're
blessed to
amazing.
still be here,
Yes.
and I just continue to take it day by day.
What an
And
amazing.
I'm grateful to get up every day.
Absolutely. It's such a great perspective. And I think if you don't choose to learn your lessons in this lifetime and you take a shortcut, I'm a believer that you got to come back and learn it the next time.
I agree.
So-
And I don't want to be that ghost that
Neither
comes
do
back
I.
for the rest
I don't
of
want to haunt anybody.
I don't either.
But I will. I
If
will
I
be the
have to.
scary
I
ghost. Yes, if I have to. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story today.
You're
It's
welcome.
truly, truly inspirational. The things that you've overcome, I think, are some of the hardest in this lifetime. And not everybody can do what you've done, which is overcome these things and still have a positive outlook on everything and choose to see the good and restart with strength. And that is to be admired. And I love you and I'm grateful for you. And I really, really am so just astonished by your strength and your beauty. And I appreciate you so much for coming out today and sharing your story, because it will help a lot of people. You don't know what they're going through when they're watching this, and that's the point, is to raise awareness. And so I really appreciate you coming out and having the bravery to share your story.
Thank you.
And with that, please remember that she didn't get lucky, she worked hard.
Girls, we run this mother.